What's going on, guys? Welcome to the very first live Tales from the Comments. We are going to talk about Captain America being a, spoilers, Hydra agent and maybe a Nazi. We're going to talk about your guys' comments about that, and also the developments that have been made since the second issue of the series came out. So let's get right into that. So the very first thing that I want to talk about is the reveal that we got in the second issue of Captain America. If you're not reading it, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about some of it. So as you know, at the end of the first one, there's that big moment where Captain America says, "Hail Hydra." But we finally got to see why he said that and how that happened in the second issue. And not to go into too much detail, I don't want to ruin too much of it for you, but all you really need to know is that his memories were altered in a sense. They were planted false memories inside of his brain that made him truly believe wholeheartedly that he is and has always been a Hydra agent. So this is different from mind control. I know there's a lot of people saying, oh, he's obviously mind controlled. It's slightly different from mind control because he's not actually being forced to do anything he doesn't want to. His memories were altered in a way that he fully believes that this is what he wants to do because that's what he remembers happening to himself as a kid. So there's a little bit of a nuance there, and we're going to talk about more of that in a second. But I do want to go over some of your guys' comments about the video. It has been a while, but let's see what you guys had to say. So this first comment comes from KRX50, who asks, you know, in the video I mentioned how this has always been Captain America since the very beginning, and they were wondering where did I get that information from? And it actually comes from a couple interviews that I found with either Tom Brevoort or Nick Spencer talking about how, I believe they even said explicitly, almost verbatim, that this is Captain America, this is who he always has been. There was a quote about how this is not a clone, not an imposter, not mind control. Again, that's debatable, but not someone else acting through Steve. This is really Captain America himself. Other interviews talked about how this was him from the very beginning, and I guess that's kind of true now. It's less that it was always him, it's just more him always believing that that's how he was. Yeah, I don't know. But that's kind of where I got that information from. Thank you for calling me out on that, keeping me honest. And as always, guys, I have sources to everything in the description for those videos. So go check out the sources section. It tells you where I got some information from and also, you know, further research for stuff that I didn't talk about in a video. So this next one comes from My Face is Shield, who comments something that I saw a lot of when this story first broke, which is the co-creators of Captain America, Jack Kirby and Joe Simon, were both Jewish, and now here comes Nick Spencer and making Captain America a Nazi just to spit in their face. And I disagree with this for a couple reasons. The first one being that Hydra and Nazis are not exactly the same. They're not a one-to-one correlation. They've allied together, sure. You might have seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that that Hydra was the Nazi science division, but in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. it was revealed that actually the Hydra predates Nazis by like centuries or something like that. So it's quite, it's not exactly, they're not exactly the same. Same goes with comics as well, right? Hydra actually, I think even, it's very convoluted. I think it even predates humans, the start of Hydra. It's weird, but I don't personally see them as the same. They're different organizations who have allied together at some point, but I just we can debate that all we want. But the main point I want to make here about this idea of coming along and spitting in the face of Jack Kirby and Joe Simon because they're Jewish is that they've done a similar story like this way back in the day in Tales to Astonish number 67. There's a picture of it right there. Basically, this picture you're seeing right here is Captain America explicitly saluting Hitler, which is a way more Nazi-like behavior than simply saying "Hail Hydra," what we saw in this current comic book. And that was written by Stan Lee, who is also Jewish, and drawn by Jack Kirby, one of the co-creators of Captain America. So I would assume, personally, that they'd be fine with this story. In fact, Stan Lee even came out and said that he thought it was a fine tale. He even joked that maybe they'll make movies about it someday. So I don't know if it's appropriate for any of us to speak on their behalf, on their behalf, and assume that we know how they're feeling about it, because they were storytellers, right? At the end of the day, they wanted to tell a good story, and I think they can understand that and respect that, but maybe I'm being hypocritical by doing the exact opposite thing that I just said and assuming what I think they'd do. Last comment I want to talk about here is from Marco Meza, who basically says that it was because of something like this, because of reasons like this, stories like this, they stopped reading comic books because it's so gimmicky, and they moved on to other media that has no gimmicks. But I personally feel like everything is a gimmick. Everything that gets you to read or watch or experience some art, if it gets you like a clickbaity thing to get you in there, I don't think that's inherently bad. It is a gimmick. Absolutely, it's a gimmick. I believe Nick Spencer or Tom Brevoort came out and said very clearly, we do not think that this is a gimmick. Personally, I disagree. I think it is a gimmick, but it's not a bad thing to have a gimmick. Superior Spider-Man is something that I bring up a lot with this. Superior Spider-Man was the most gimmicky premise for a comic book you could ever think of, and it was such a good story. It was so good that they're not mutually exclusive. You can have gimmicks and good stories, and I think the thing we need to focus on is the good stories. Because when we're talking about clickbait, you know, a lot of people were saying this is like the clickbait equivalent for comic books. You know, I feel like the whole point of creating art is to get the most eyes on it as possible, and so sometimes that means being clickbaity, just because you really believe in the story that you're telling. So I don't personally have a problem with this, and again, we're only 2 issues in. The story hasn't fully unfolded yet. We gotta continue watching and reading and seeing what's gonna happen with that. So we're gonna get to some of your guys' comments who are watching live in a bit, but first I just want to let you guys know that we have an EXO MANOWAR video out that came out a couple days ago. If you haven't seen that, I know a lot of you guys are really here for the Marvel and DC stuff, but really do check out this video. Dylan over here, who's working the computer, made a lot of great animations for it. Woo! He said he cheered. Fantastic. Go check it out. It's really good. It involves real-world time travel and physics and special relativity. It's super interesting. I'm biased, obviously. But let's get some of your guys' comments right here, see what everyone's talking about. I saw a lot of you guys earlier were spamming about Gwen, putting Gwen in everything, which is pretty funny to me. So, Gwen's causing lag. Lots of Gwen stuff. Awesome. So I don't know if you guys have anything particular to say about this Captain America stuff, but either way, let us know what you guys think about this live format as well for doing these live tales in the comments. We're going to try it again next week, try to get better at it, improve a little bit more, maybe feature more Gwen stuff in here, because apparently a lot of you guys are just fascinated by Gwen. So, yeah, thanks so much for watching, you guys, and I think that's probably going to wrap it up for us right now, because all I see in the comments are Gwen things, and I'm not complaining. I just don't have much to say about that. So, we'll see you guys probably next week. We'll actually see you on Wednesday for another episode of Comic Misconceptions, and then again on Monday for more of this, if you guys liked it. Let us know if you like this or not, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.